Sidgwick, the people are saying that the things in these videos aren't insane enough. You fly me all the way out here. Do you know who I am? I'm Stone Bold Jules Gill, and you treat me like a Cleary. Now, I'm sure the people in the office really love you, but in my eyes, you're a piece of trash. It's been wonderful giving you feedback. It has not been wonderful giving him feedback. Now go off and do your homework. What a nice guy. Anyway, I'm Jules, WhatCulture.com, and this is... Right, so let's talk Stephanie McMahon, the woman who took direct credit for the women's revolution in the WWE, despite being the catalyst for it when AJ Lee called her out for her hypocritical bullshit. Now, thanks to this week's announcement, yay, this preening peacock of a woman is going to be on the commentary team throughout the entire Women's Rumble match. Hooray. Instead of anyone more qualified like, I don't know, Renee Young, we're going to get a woman who has no idea how entitled she actually is. She is that unaware. Her entrance music calls her self-made, soul-paid. She is about as self-sufficient as a f***ing collapsed lung. The roster of people who could do this job better than her is actually quite remarkable, and they're actually missing out on a great angle by perhaps having Charlotte and Alexa Bliss, the two champions, on commentary through this, basically being cocky and sort of lording it over all these things, then growing worried as a victor starts to emerge. That would be a good angle. Tell me I'm wrong. But then again, those women didn't invent the women's revolution. Oh, wait. Yes, they did. Okay, let's talk about Raw 25, and a lot of this episode will be focused on that. So you have been warned, or not warned. It's not a warning. It's not going to hurt you in any way. The general consensus for Raw 25 seems to be mixed overall, and you know what? Sidgwick f***ing hated it. I actually thought that there were some moments of levity, and so therefore, I'm going to balance out his negative stuff, with my positive vibes, like a good old Simon Miller. So let's go through the good bits first, and then the bad. Okay? Here are the things that I loved. Seeing The Undertaker again. Chris Jericho, I don't care what context it's in, this man is playing a violent game between two of the biggest wrestling promotions around, and he seems to be winning, and I f***ing love it. Seeing MVP again because I genuinely want to see him have another run. And Stone Cold Steve Austin, but more on him a little bit later. And now, the things that sucked. Whilst seeing The Undertaker was pretty glorious, what the f*** was he on about? His promo was all over the place, and I genuinely don't know what the point of it was. I mean, I get it that he was talking about souls that he buried on his long road, but if you'd actually noticed, the feuds that he was talking about happened after the WWF had outgrown the Manhattan Center. So... And speaking of the Manhattan Center, my God, must it have sucked to pay between $400 to $800 to be there in the flesh to see 20 minutes at most of in-ring action and then have to watch the rest televised. Whew. Nostalgia, it turns out, does have a price, but that doesn't seem f***ing worth it to me. And then we have the cameos that didn't really make much sense. I mean, like the Boogeyman being shown at any other time other than Halloween. What's the point in that? And while it was great to see the Dudley Boys again, it did remind me of just how much of a damp, wet, squidgy note their career ended on back in 2016. And finally, the Revival. Ouch. Ooh. Okay, boys, it has been good knowing you. Rest in peace, because you have just been given the same kiss of death that the Ascension got. I mean, there is a chance they could pull through. There is a chance, but it was clear that DX only had two words for them, and that was you. Which leads me to my next point, a person who actually didn't say very much at all. In fact, he said no words. Stone Cold Steve Austin showed up to the ring, did a few stunners, and said nothing. Bit weird. But when he did get to speak, as we parodied in the opening skit, it was glorious. Yes, yes. I'm not kissing birds, by the way. I'm just expressing that I like stuff. Stone Cold eviscerated the poor lads, and it was a very thinly veiled attack at the higher-ups. He said stuff like, I actually drew money. I want proper interview, proper camera time, proper mic time. All said down the barrel of the lens, which all of these things are just a big no-no. The red mist was very real at this point, and you could tell that Big Steve was done with the idea of being flown all the way out there to say nothing. No catchphrases, no reminiscing. Just stand there, look pretty, drink a beer, and give a... They were pretty unsatisfying stunners, to be fair. The Rock had the best one. I don't care what you say. But I mean, is that going to sour tensions between him and the WWE? Probably not, because his paycheck is probably huge. However, I don't think that this will be happening to him anytime soon, because that's the bottom line, because Steve Austin was f***ing fuming. Okay, final thing for Raw 25. I know, we've been talking about it a lot this episode, but it was quite a monumentous event. There's a lot that went wrong with it. Plus, it's quite funny to rip on shit like this, so f***ing sue me. And this one is just funny because it shows how blind the WWE is in the face of sucking their own sweaty meat. On SmackDown, they ran some screenshots of media coverage of the Raw 25 event, but they didn't check to see that all of the comments were positive. They showed a screenshot of a CBS Sports quote that they clearly didn't read, because if they had, they'd know it said that the show failed to deliver on both ends of the bargain despite going overboard in promoting such a landmark event. Now, there is nothing more to say on this one other than the fact that somebody somewhere in the WWE gets paid probably a lot of money to edit these things together, and they couldn't even get past the words CBS, WWE, Raw 25. Brilliant. Now let's close out the show by talking about Peter Rosenberg, a supposedly independent podcaster for wrestling. He was this week's subject of Kevin Owens' brutal assault as king of Twitter. Don't know, I was going to go like that, but that was just going to end up in like a Nazi salute. Not a good look. Despite being paid to, observe wrestling, Rosenberg didn't actually know who War Machine were, even though they'd just signed with NXT. Now, this might have gone unnoticed to many, but he made the big mistake of messing around with Kevin Owens by recording a clip of him from Jericho's podcast saying that Kevin Owens basically said, "I don't have enough time to watch Japanese wrestling." Which is pretty fair, to be honest. He's on the road all the time, he's got to look after what's left of his hair. And this was clearly kettle calling the pot black, because Kevin Owens stepped up and reminded him succinctly with this tweet. "If my role for a certain company was to comment on things happening within said company, and they had just hired some really talented wrestlers, I'd probably find a few minutes to learn who they were and where they come from before talking about them." Whew, do you feel that? That is the world shifting itself back into the natural order with Kevin Owens at the top. Rosenberg had little to say to this other than using a weird hashtag of "with a life" as like a security blanket to hide underneath. But you know what? At that stage in the game, that is like asking for wet wipes after you've shit yourself at your own funeral. Done. And those have been the most insane things happening in wrestling this week. Now to close out the show the only way I know how, by reading out my favourite comment from last week's episode. And that is, "Roses are red, violets are blue, Roman's on drugs, sadly his push isn't through." I just thought that was funny, I like the rhyme. All that's left for me to say is a big thank you to you for watching, as well as to Michael Sidgwick and Phil Chambers for their continued work on this show. As always, I've been Jules, you've been awesome. Swing by WhatCulture.com for more news and articles like this every goddamn day, and I'll speak to you soon.
So, thanks for watching. Please feel free to click on any of these things around my head, or something terrible might happen to the dog. Too sweet me, bro. Traitor. Traitor.